help is when I'm ocean waves.
Tonight on Nova Legends podcast, I have Freedom coach Darryl Overton. Coach Overton's on TV and social media more than Stephen A. Smith. His Freedom Eagles just qualified for the state semifinals with a huge win over rival Battlefield, 50-7. Coach, great to see you. Congratulations.
Man, appreciate you again. Good seeing you again, man. Like you said, much respect, much love.
Yeah, well, Coach, you know it's fun. Well, thank you, Coach. The first thing I did preparing for this interview is I wanted to go watch your halftime speech on that. There's a great documentary series, Freedom by 40, that not only is it great footage and stuff, but they're able to produce it like the day after the game. I've seen other things like it, but it takes weeks and weeks to do it. These guys do a great job. Anyway, I wanted to go listen to your halftime speech because I'm like, what do you say to a team that plays a perfect half? I mean, it's one of the most perfect halves of football you'll ever see. So I figured you're going to find something to yell at them about. I had to hear the speech. So I got the speech. You just said, man, you guys, you played a perfect half of football. Appreciate what you're doing. Love my assistant coaches. It was nice to see. Only thing you could find fault was you didn't like the way they were going at the wedge. That was the only thing you could find. I was like, I knew you were going to find something. But Coach, that must be a great feeling when you put all this hard work in. These kids as they were young, you get them there, you keep them eligible, you motivate them, you get them in the weight room, all the things you do, and then you go out there and you play you undefeated team. You're up 43-0 at halftime. It must have been a great feeling for you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it always, feels a little better the deeper into the season you get as far as opponents, playoffs, regional championships. So, again, man, it was, a big win for us. It felt great. Also, because as a coach, you're doing it against other good coaches, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you to play some football, X and O's, you know what I mean? Which at certain points in the season as a coach, you don't necessarily get to do that because some of the teams just don't have good, football stuff going on. So it makes it a little better when you're coaching against another coach that has a well-prepared team and, that's doing good football stuff. So now you kind of, you get to kind of do some of your things as a coach. And, so it makes it better.
Yeah. Well, I know that last loss of your high school career was against Battlefield. And I know you've probably replayed that game in your mind a million times. First of all, how is your Freedom team now different than that Freedom team?
Well, I think we're different now just because, Jeff is not a 140-pound freshman. Mm-hmm. First of all. Secondly, EJ and Courtney aren't sophomores. You know what I mean? This team is a better, obvious receiving core by far. What people don't know, in that game, Aiden McCaffrey, the star receiver at Gainesville, was starting for us in that game. So we're better. We're definitely better up front than we were then. That going into that Battlefield game back then, we had some guys that was banged up on the offensive line, and they didn't practice much that week. So it kind of showed. And then, like you said, our quarterback, as good as Davis was, he's at Kennesaw State as he should be. Special talent. Tristan just is playing at a different level at quarterback right now. Being that he's been able to do it, 2.5 seasons. One of those seasons being when Davis Bryson got hurt. So all around, we just felt like we know we're a better football team than we were then. I'm a better coach now because of some things that, in that game, as we tend to do as coaching, you learn more when you lose. So I want to make sure I was better. So, we're just better. Not only are the kids bigger, faster, stronger, we're better up front on both sides of the ball. And, I feel like me as a coach and a play caller, we've gotten better as well.
Yeah. Well, it's obvious you guys are a lot better. But, when you're before the game, it's not always easy to have that confidence. I mean, they had beaten you. So in your mind, Hatfield had beaten you in the last game. And obviously you got, you're a better coach, your team is better. But in the back of your mind, you're still a little worried because they're undefeated and this is your last loss. So did you do anything different to prepare for them this time?
No, again, it's not. We didn't do anything different. Kind of, paid attention to what they do. I mean, like we did last time. Last time they did some things outside of what they showed on film defensively. Obviously, like you said, they're a good, well-coached team. It's never a worried or scared thing because I feel the same whether it's Battlefield, Hilton, the Math, or whatever right before the game. I just kind of get anxious to see when the game starts. You know what I mean? Like, okay, what are they going to do offensively and defensively? What are we going that's different? How are we going to adjust? I always say with this team, I feel like the game starts after we get up 14-0. Because now we see like, okay, what you going to do now? And we feel like once we get to that 14-0, all right, now you got to show what, you got to show your hand. That's it.
So, Coach, you're too young to remember this, but when I was a kid, well, when I was in my 20s, we used to watch Mike Tyson fight, and well, you had to actually experience it to believe it. But there was a moment when the fight start, they come in there all brave, and they, we're going to hit this guy, we're going to take him down, and as soon as Mike Tyson started hitting them, they would just fall apart. It was interesting because I felt they didn't, and maybe your players are just too good, and Freedom's too good, but I felt they didn't believe it. I felt like they couldn't tackle. They couldn't block. Were you guys so prepared, or do you think there was a little bit of that intimidation factor, and you kind of hit them and they didn't respond?
Well, I'm gonna say this: we were definitely well prepared. Not to say that they weren't. I think more so of a intimidation was we are hard, very difficult to stimulate in practice. Like you can run the plays 1,000 times, but you don't have those same people. So it doesn't quite look the same. So I'm not going to say intimidated or scared. It's just the adjustment got to happen quick. You know what I mean? It got to happen quick, and I don't think it happened quick enough. I think some things that they thought, they were going to do well versus they weren't able to do it. But those may be things that they are good at. They don't feel they're good as other things. You get what I'm saying? So I'm going to give Battlefield players a little bit more credit in the coach. I don't think it was the intimidation thing. I think it was one of those things like this is happening and it's happening right now. And they never got going. I think they almost got going, but then that turnover. They fumbled that ball going down in when we were up 14-0. Like I said,
that was a big play. That was a big play.
So once that happened, it kind of took some wind out the sails. It makes it difficult. We're all, creatures, of emotions and feelings. So that makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah. I felt this Battlefield was different. I'm sure they're a great team. I don't want to take anything away from those boys and certainly the coaching staff. But I felt like last year when you played Madison in the final, I felt like you were superior to them in most positions, but they came there to accomplish a certain number of things that they were going to do. They couldn't do everything, but they picked out some things they were going to do, and they were able to execute on those things. I never felt Battlefield had that. I just felt like once it kind of got away from them, it didn't have any plan. And I think Madison, they knew you were better, but they were going to run Angelo Dredge, and he had a super game compared to the talent that you had. He did a great job for what he had, and they did some things well. They couldn't do a lot well, but they did some things well. And I felt like Battlefield couldn't even do some things well. I just felt like they were just hanging on the whole time. So, but
yeah, like you said, I get it, and to a point, you're right, but it's like you said, the things that they may have wanted, that they thought they were going to do well, they weren't able to do.
Yeah.
What I mean? I think sometimes, we all we want to do something else, but that might be outside of our wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Yeah. Might be too risky for the reward. You get what I mean? So you got to roll the dice.
Go back to Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan until they get hit in the face, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So, anyway, look, we were arguing on Facebook today, and I hate these arguments, but you always get some people that think everything private schools do is just gold. And I know you take nothing away from the good private schools. You have respect for them, but I am not a believer. If you have 5 losses, you should no longer. I don't think you should be in the top 20 in the Washington Post anymore. So every time we put the Washington Post top 20, and the St. John's is in there. St. John's could lose 15 games in 1 year, and they'd still be rated in the top 20 of the Washington Post. Now, do you really think that none of the Virginia teams, Stonebridge, Battlefield, Madison, Lake Braddock, none of it, obviously Freedom can, you proved it against DeMatha, but none of these teams can play against the other teams in the metropolitan area?
Of course not. I mean, that was a big reason for us taking the game. Like, to show, like, the people in my community that you don't have to go to a private school to validate or play good football or do any of that stuff. I think those teams absolutely can play with anybody. I think that we just have to do it more. Like, you saw Stonebridge go out and play a Wise and play a tough, brutal schedule, and now they are where they are because of that. Mm-hmm. But I think we have to do it more. Like, we can't be scared to play them and see. We still got to be smart about it because we tend not to have the numbers they have. But I think the best teams anywhere can play with the best teams, if that makes sense. And I don't care if it's Virginia Beach, private, Maryland. Yeah. I think you take the top 4 teams anywhere and put them on some fields, it's going to be pretty much the same. You know what I mean? Good football teams are good football teams.
Especially this time of year. This time of year, when teams have played 10, 11 games, they've grown together. If you're losing games, even against good competition, there's a reason for that. And I think if you're winning games, even if Northern Virginia is not quite the same level as the WCAC, it says something when you're 13, 14 and 0. Even if, again, they're not the best. But some folks you never gonna win the argument with, so you just got to kind of let it go. So let's get to Madison now, Coach. When you're playing a team that you've played before, it's interesting because you can watch yourself, you can watch Freedom play Madison and vice versa. But since you're both watching each other, both of you guys are going to move. I mean, it's a moving target. Freedom is going to change, and Madison is going to change because you guys have already played each other. So as a coach, is that a challenge when it's a rematch and you've already done this before, and everyone's trying to decide which Freedom team are we going to see, which Madison team we're going to see?
Yeah, I think at times, I think the best coaches and the good coaches, you kind of not let that play on your mind too much, mm-hmm. and you kind of make sure you're doing what you do well. You know what I mean? Even if they have seen it, even if, if you can mask it in a different way, but you want to make sure, again, like I just said, you're not operating outside your wheelhouse mm-hmm. and your talent. Again, I tell people all the time, I think a lot of coaches would do things different to stop us offensively or be successful defensively. But your talent has to be able to do that. You know what I mean? That's not a shortcoming of the coach. I'm sure the coach can look at you and say, all right, if we could do this, we could do that. But if you don't have the people to do that, you can't do it. So I think that's the thing that all of us as coaches, we got to make sure we don't do. Like, I would love to get in a tight end set, but I don't have a 6'5" tight end. So I'm not going to do that. So, you know what I mean? Like, we all would love to do Gronkowski plays and stuff like that. But if you don't got Gronkowski, leave that play alone. So, I think at this point, no matter what, you're going to get good coaches and coaches that do good football. And, Coach Count is another one of those guys like Hatfield, and they're going to do good football stuff. They're going to get the most out of whatever talent they got every single year. And, you can count on that.
Yeah. Well, Coach, when you think about your team, after the DeMatha game, I haven't seen you guys play because most of the games on paper looked like they weren't going to be competitive. But your season was very smooth in that the scores are all about the same. And like when you guys win 65-0, people are like, what's wrong with Freedom? Freedom's down. Freedom's down this year. So your season was very smooth. So it was hard to know exactly where you were. So when I saw you play against Battlefield, it was a completely different team than against Tamatha, which is, I mean, you're grown. You were trying to find out where all the pieces fit, and players get better. They get more experience. Know where to put players. Things have changed. When you look at your team this year, is your team the same place your team was last year? They at about the same place?
I think so. I would say so for sure. It's things that team did better than this team. It's things that this team does better. But as far as the execution and competitive standpoint, I feel like they are. I feel like they're, hitting on all cylinders right at the, right time. So I do. I feel like they're both pretty well locked in, compared to last year's team and now.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is Madison last year struggled early, kind of like Stonebridge. Not as tough a schedule as Stonebridge, but still they lost some pretty good, some solid teams early, and then they got on a roll. But they were never quite a dominant team. But they played well together. As you said, Coach Counts does a great job. He's got a great staff as well, and so they're able to put together this run that got them to the state final. This year, they were pretty strong from start to finish. They replaced a lot of players, but yet they had a very smooth season. They had one hiccup against South Lakes, but South Lakes was playing extremely well this year. So when you look at, I don't know if you've got a chance to do a lot of film work yet, but when you look at Madison, do you see a different team than last year?
I see they do things differently. They still kind of, got a good run game. They formation you a lot to create, indecisiveness in your run fits. They do a good job with that stuff. This running back is more of a home run hitter than the kid that they had before. Quarterback now is probably a little bit better of an athlete as far as using his legs. But there's some Madison things they always do that they're gonna do well. They're gonna run power. They're gonna run counter. They're gonna run their 4-2-5 defense, and so they're gonna still, like we talked about, they're gonna do what they do well. They're not gonna get too far outside of their wheelhouse. So again, like you said, that's what makes for these type of matchups. So, and like you said, they had a hot start, and that's what, like you said, good teams at this point, they all here for a reason. No matter what, and you got to respect that and make sure you know it. And like you said, people with us in our area, the scores, we only scoring 64s. Like I tell people, like, they, a lot of people already had agreed to a running clock versus us in the second quarter. Not the second half. So, that's the story behind the story. You really don't know that. People had already agreed to run the clock, before the second half. So, I'm expecting Madison's best. Like I said, I think they have a little bit more explosiveness at running back this year. Like, if you're not where you're supposed to be, he can get away from us than anybody. And I think the quarterback proposes a little different challenges, having to account for him in the run game as far as what they do.
Yeah, and also, Coach, the receivers seem to be tough to tackle. They're good at making an 8-yard reception. I mean, they're not like necessarily game breakers, but they make 8-yard receptions to 15-yard receptions. They did a lot of that the games that I watched.
Yeah, typical. Madison, they tough. They gonna compete. Like, that's always. I feel like the receivers last year did a good job of that. Again, they gonna have to line up across from different type of animal when they do it this time. But I that's what they do. They're gonna do that. That's a test to the culture of their program and their school. They good at everything.
Yeah. Well, Coach, how do you feel about the change in format? I'm as a fan of high school sports, I'm excited. And I hope they do this for basketball. To me, and I'm a Fairfax County native. The fact that 2 Fairfax County teams played in state semifinals was ridiculous, and everyone knew it was. So, I am glad. And like Braddock Coach, I just talked to Coach, and Doherty, and he's glad to go down to Highland Springs and play someone new. Get out of the region, play someone new, experience of life. It's not going to be easy. He realized it, but this is what it's all about. How do you feel about this new format?
Well, to me, this is how it was. I think they changed it, for COVID, considering everything, and they just didn't change it back. But this is how it was originally. Remember the year we went in 2018, we played Woodson, South County, you know what I mean? So this is how it used to be. I don't know when it got the other way. Remember then it was COVID. I do know it.
Yeah.
Because they just wanted to cut down the travel stuff.
Yeah.
Because we beat Westfield that year in the regional championship. So this is how it was. It just recently changed due to COVID. And then I think they had a oopsie. They realized that they voted on it to change it back last year. And then somebody said, hey, guys, remember, we voted on this. Supposed to go back to how it was. And that's how all that came about. But we've kind of been in that weird place. Whenever the reasons change, we change. You know what I mean? So it's worked out for us, but we've always got to see different people.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I know you're a real student of the game. Do you think that Lake Brackett will be able to go down there and compete, go toe to toe with Highland Springs?
I mean, I think that they're gonna go down there and stand in front of them, and they're gonna have some pride about who they are. I mean, like you said, obviously they got a tall task. Coach Johnson and Springs is as advertised. You know what I mean, and you got to go to their place. They're not, repeating state champs for no reason. Like you said, I think Lake Braddock got to be willing to stand in front of them and fight, no matter what's happening. I think if they do that, they'll be fine and have a chance to win in the end, hopefully. But you're going into hostile environment, great football environment, and you're gonna have to buckle it up.
Yeah. What makes Highland Springs? What makes Highland Springs so special?
I mean, they're well coached. They got the great combination of talent, coaching, and toughness. And they got a great sense of pride about their program, as they should. So, that's pretty much all good teams in whatever sports. You know what I mean? They're going to have a lot of pride in what they do, but they're well coached, they're physical, they're athletic. So, they always going to be a tough out, no matter who play them.
Yeah. Well, last question, Coach. How's your basketball team looking this year so far?
Great, man. I just walked out of practice when me and you was messaging. And, I'm telling you, I'm seeing some great things. We're going to make some noise, I think, this year in basketball. We have a tough schedule. We go down and we play tomorrow. They play against Ann Miller School in Charlottesville. We play Madison this year. We play OP. We play Virginia Academy. We play Thomas Dale. So we play Bishop O'Connell tournament, Christmas tournament. So we're going to put their face in the fire. I think we got something this year going with girls basketball as well, too. So I think it's going to be special.
You think one day we'll have a Freedom by 40 girls basketball special?
Hey, it might already be there.
All right. That'll be great to see, Coach. It'll be great to see last year. I went back and listened to our interview from last year, and I asked you, what would you do if you won a state title in basketball? Because I don't know if anyone has done both, girls and football and basketball, maybe boys, even and boys and girls. I don't know if anyone's done both, but it probably has been done. And you just said, I don't know what I would do with myself. But it would be great. It would be great to see you if you can turn that program around and do what you did to the football team, to the girls basketball program at Freedom.
Yeah, man. And our goal, honestly, we want to put the district title up. We want to have, our school has not won any girls sports in the district.
Oh, is that right?
So none. So we want the district title first. And then we'll go from there. But that's the first milestone for us. And, you know how basketball is. You get better as the season goes. Basketball is a long season. So teams that came early aren't the same teams later. Because even last year, we made it to the regional quarterfinal and lost to Gainesville by 4 points, who end up going to the state, final, semifinals.
Yeah.
So we got better. And, basketball season allows you to do that because it's a long season. So hopefully we hit the ground running a little bit more this year than we did last year.
Yeah. Well, basketball tradition is hard to change, but it's nowhere near as hard to change as football culture. Football tradition and culture, it sometimes it never changes, but it takes a long time. So if you can do that with the football program, I'm sure you can do it with the basketball program. Even though it's going to be hard work and you got to take a little bit of luck, get the right players in place, but I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah, I feel great about our team now. Like, we returned all 5 of our starters.
Is
The
that right?
Johnson,
Oh,
yep, Johnson twin was all district. Kania was first team. She's back. Amaja Wright is a sophomore. She's back. Diana and Ashley. Then my daughter is a freshman. She's really
is that
good.
right? Oh,
Yeah. So Angel is another freshman that we got that's really talented. And Savannah, who came from Brentsville's state runner-up team,
mm,
is so we think we got some pieces in place to make some noise. We just got to go out there and do it. I can't mess it up. I think the girls gonna be, good enough to do it. We just got to make sure me and the coaches we don't mess it up.
and do you coach them as hard as you coach your boys?
Absolutely. Look, I watched the Pat Summit documentary on ESPN. It's on that 30 by 30.
Yeah,
Ain't no difference. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's no different. You know what I mean? It's no different. You kind of find different ways to get your message across. Maybe have to. I'm not even gonna say that because the boys need a lot of loving up too. Trust me.
yeah, they
Don't
do.
let them fool you with that helmet and shoulder pads. They need just as much loving up.
Yeah,
But the girls they get the same tough love.
yeah,
I think will allow you to tough love them if they know you love them and you care about them. So
yeah.
I don't get no backlash about it. They know it's love, and they know one thing about me: once the practice over, once the game over, it's over. We can go back to laughing, joking,
Yeah.
eating, and we'll deal with that next time we on the court.
That's right, Coach. Yeah. Well, look, last time I tried to get to Freedom, there was a horrible hailstorm, and I couldn't get down there for the DeMatha game. So, hopefully this time around, it's supposed to be nice weather this weekend, I believe. So hopefully I'll be able to make it down this. I definitely want to see this game. I think it's going to be, it's great to watch 2 great programs go at it, and who knows? I know that you're confident as you should be, but I think it's going to be a great display of football.
I do too. I know so. I'm expecting none less. Like I said, I hope you get there. I know it's going to be a great atmosphere, and
Yeah.
I know like Madison are going to put a great product on the field, and they're going to make us earn anything we get.
Yeah, no question. Hey, Coach. Well, thanks for your time. I know you were running out of practice. You probably got other things you got to do. So but I appreciate your time, and I definitely wish you the best of luck on Saturday. Maybe we could talk before the season's over.
Man, again, appreciate you always. All love. Anybody watching, like, subscribe. We gotta support our own and people that supporting our kids. No matter where they at, Nova, Woodbridge, all this stuff is good for all our kids in the sports community. So everybody like, share, subscribe all the time. And again, if you haven't, Freedom by 40, watch it.
Oh yeah, it's great, and appreciate the kind words, Coach. And it's fun. It's fun giving the support. You guys put on a great show. I mean, you've made me a football fan. I hadn't watched high school football in years till last year. This team is scoring 100 points. What the heck is going on in Prince William County? And that's how I got back into football. And now I can't get enough of it. Now I'm watching, the NFHS. I'm watching 4 games a night now. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
good.
awesome. Anyway, Coach, again, I appreciate it. Hopefully, hopefully I get a chance to at least say hi to you. I know you're gonna be busy, but I'll give it a shot this weekend.
All right, good. Appreciate you.
Okay, Coach. You too, man. Take care.